Hello and welcome to Lowe's greenhouse. Today we're going to help you to learn some more about all the things you need to know when you're repotting your house plants. So let's go over to the potting shed and join Dave where he's repotting a plant right now. Alright, what we have here is a nice ficus tree. It looks very healthy, as you can see. Bright green leaves. It's growing very well. But as we look down here, we can see that the pot is very small in proportion to the plant. We can see some of the roots that are coming out of the surface of the soil. We can see even at this point in time the pot's misformed with the roots pushing out on the pot. And more importantly, our plant is drying out very, very quickly, and these are all signs that our plant needs to be repotted. Alright, now Dave's going to get started, and the first thing we need to do, because this plant is so pot bound, we're not going to have any luck trying to take this plant out of the pot without cutting the pot off. So Dave right now has got a nice sharp knife and he's cutting the plant out of the pot so that we can get it into its new home. Alright, there we go. The plant's been taken out of the pot, and as we move in you can see how those roots are very, very tight and massed around the edge of the pot. Now what we need to do is we need to get those roots to spread into the new soil. So what Dave's going to do now is he's going to prune those roots so that they're no longer growing in that circular fashion around the edge of the pot, and they're ready to spread into their new soil. So Dave's going to take his nice sharp knife and he's going to make some vertical cuts up and down, loosening up the soil and actually cutting through the roots. Now every root that is cut will be a new place for roots to spread into the surrounding soil. So we don't need to get crazy, but we do want to loosen up the soil all the way around. The tighter the mass of roots, the more important it is to make cuts into those roots. Alright, now Dave's going to pull some of those roots out. Pull some of the roots off the top of the plant. Loosen up that root ball. Another thing that's very important is that the base of the plant is not buried in soil. Soil is a little high on the trunk of this plant, and we'll clean that up as well. Here Dave's loosening up the bottom. See, you don't need to be delicate in this operation, we just need to get that thing loosened up. It's very helpful to have a workbench or someplace so that you can get dirty so that you don't have to worry about cleaning up so much when you're done. While Dave's finishing up with the plant sprouts, let's take a look at the new pot. See, the pot that we took the plant out of, we don't want to go up too many pot sizes, because if we go up too many pot sizes we're going to create too much moisture holding capability for the plant to be healthy in. So we're going to go up about 2 pot sizes with this new pot. One of the things that's very important, that we want our pot to be clean. This is a brand new pot, we don't have to worry about that. But the other thing you'll notice here is the pot has drainage holes in the bottom, which is also very important. We need to have good drainage to allow our roots to dry out between waterings. So that's going to be the new home for our ficus tree. The next thing we want to concern ourselves with is our new potting soil. There are many, many different types of potting soil, and it's very important to have a good porous potting soil for your house plants. And you can see by looking at this mixture, there's a lot of large pieces. There's a lot of different materials in there. You see there's little pieces of pine bark. The white material is perlite and peat moss. So it's very important to have a good potting soil, and I recommend using professional potting soil, something that your local nursery or garden center might use to grow their own plants in. And then you'll know you're getting a good product. Alright, now our soil ball is nice and loose. You can see that there are some of the roots that were taken off during the process, and that's just fine. You really want that root ball to be nice and loose so all those roots will spread in their new surrounding soil. So now we're going to come over and bring it over to the new pot and see how the root ball fits inside the new pot. When placing the plant in the pot, we want to make sure that we allow plenty of space for a water reservoir on top of the plant. when we water the plant, we don't want the water overflowing the top of the pot. So it's very important to leave 1 or 2 inches. At the same time, we don't want to bury it too deeply, so it's really important to get it at the right level. It looks like we need to put a little soil on the bottom before we start repotting this plant. Alright, we got a couple scoops of soil on the bottom there, about 1 inch or 2. And now Dave could put the plant back in. You see now we have a good 1.5 inches or 2 inches of reservoir at the top, and we've got the plant centered in the middle. And then we can start to place our potting soil in around the plant. It's important to compact the soil firmly, but we don't have to get crazy on our compaction. But we do want it to be filled and compact all the way around. See, Dave is using a pot as a convenient scoop, and again, it's great to have a place where you can make a little bit of a mess, because repotting is a messy job. There's Dave placing the soil around the outside of the pot, packing it in so the tree is firmly in place and won't jiggle around. Keep adding soil until we get it filled up. Dave's now finishing up packing the soil in. We're almost there. A little bit more to top it all off and we'll be all set. Again, it's very important not to bury the base of the stem. The base of the stem does have a flare, a trunk flare, and that trunk flare should be exposed so we don't get abnormal root growth that could strangle our plant. This is important for inside as well as outdoor trees. Take excess soil away. See, and that soil is fairly compact. It's not stuffed in there, but it's fairly compacted so that tree is nice and sturdy. Alright, now as Dave finishes up, you can see you have a nice reservoir on the top of the soil, but you can also see that the primary roots, the root flare, is exposed. It's a nice, healthy position for the plant. So now that we've got it repotted, we're going to think about feeding this plant, because potting soil does not have any nutritional value, so we want to feed this plant. And there are several different methods of fertilizing houseplants. You can use a water-soluble fertilizer, something that you would mix in a bucket of water. You can use a liquid fertilizer that's mixed with water, or you can use a slow-release granule. So Dave's going to apply some slow-release fertilizer right now, some Osmocote, which is a very convenient way to fertilize. It will be just sprinkled on the surface of the soil, and every time you water the plant, that will provide some food. There's our Osmocote. Very carefully measured. Good job, Dave. And that'll last for about 3 months. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check the plant, see if there's any dead branches or pruning we need to do. So we need to get some pruning tools, and we're going to take a closer look as we finish up our potting project. Okay, now you see our ficus tree is repotted and looking good. Now Dave's going to go through, which is a good idea to check your plants from time to time, look closely for any insect damage, but also, especially with ficus trees, he's looking for any dead branches on the inside, any branches that will be crossing over one another, and removing those so that we can keep our plant looking good and nice and clean at all times. So just a general inspection to make sure everything's looking good and everything's nice and cleaned up. Okay, as we're finishing up, Dave is applying plant shine to the plant, which takes off some of the water stains, cleans off the dust, and just makes the plant look like it does right after a nice rain shower, nice glossy leaves. So there you go. Now our ficus tree is all repotted, has plenty of room to grow, and is going to have some really fast growth here in its new home. So thanks, Dave, for showing us how to take care of our plants and do a proper job of repotting.